All right, so we're back here in the garage with the 4600 Jeep build. We didn't really do a whole lot this summer. I was kind of waiting on parts and acquiring parts, so I didn't want to tear it apart until I had everything. With that being said, it's been 6 months since we filmed our last video, so we definitely have some catching up to do. The rear end is all done. It's under the Jeep. It's on its own weight with springs. The front end, I just now started figuring out. I have the link brackets on there and everything, but there's no other brackets for springs or shocks or none of that. So we'll do a video on how I'm going to do all that. What else? Oh, in the meantime, while I was waiting on stuff, I did set up this Yukon 9-inch third member. It's a 35 spline carrier with a grizzly locker. So that should be plenty strong for my application. Also, I did pick up a set of tires. I'm gonna look at them. They're 35-inch Milestar Patagonias on Raceline Monsters. I got 5 of them for now. I got a good deal on them from Northridge 4x4 in Washington. It was a buy 4 get 1 free, so I had to jump on that. But yeah, for parts, I mean, the long arm kit that I'm doing is made by Rock Crawler, and it's like a 10-year-old kit, so I'm using 10-year-old parts, and the kit was made for a Dana 30 and Dana 35 mounting locations, so it's kind of hard to mimic that on axles that weren't originally made for a Jeep. So that's been like the biggest hurdle is abiding by their rules for what it was set up for. I mean, we did the best we could, but the rear articulates fine and everything, and it clears everything, but it's just kind of goofy looking. You'll see that in a second, but yeah, that was like our biggest hurdle, was figuring out. We put brackets on the rear and cut them off about 3 or 4 times. It seemed like just wasn't happy with how it's set up, but now I have it pretty close to what it's going to be. So I'm just waiting to get drive lines, shocks, and I think that's it for parts need to be ordered. So we're getting close. So I guess we can go to the rear. We can go check the rear out, see what progress I've made. So here's the rear end. As you can tell, it's pretty much done. There is no paint on it, and I don't have any seals yet, but I'm going to do that when I paint it and everything. So other than that, the suspension part of it is all done. It is on its own weight, sitting on the springs, so that's exciting. Looks kind of goofy. Those top brackets, link brackets on top of the Barnes truss, are what we kind of had to do to conform to the Rock Crawler specifications of where the links ended up. But other than that, it turned out awesome. I'm happy with it. And yeah, so there's Barnes generic truss with Barnes 4-link suspension pieces, as you can see, the lowers and the uppers. Also have Barnes spring pads, lower and upper. I really like the upper. It turned out awesome. Just has 3 welds, like bung welds, and then you just grind them down. And then I kind of overdid the welding, but don't really care about that. There's the RuffStuff disc brake kit. That turned out awesome. I've already mocked it up and everything with the axles, and it works great. Coming to the center, I have a 231 NP231 transfer case with a JB conversion for the slip yoke. It also has a fatter chain upgrade, so it's going to be plenty strong for what we're doing. And here's the center section of the Rock Crawler kit. And as you can tell, the paint on this skid plate is pretty nice. It's actually brand new because I had to buy a new one. The kit that I bought secondhand ended up being from a 2005 Jeep TJ, and they have different transmissions, so the mounting plate holes are different. And I didn't really feel like routering out new holes in 1/4-inch plate. I don't have the tools for that, so bought a new one. They gave me a good price on it, so I'm glad to be running their stuff. Yeah, so that turned out great. Coming to the front, we have the link set up, lowers. The rear, the upper is just sitting on there. I'll talk about that in a second, but we used a Moto built, or no, it's Metal Cloak. Moto built Metal Cloak truss for the top. Looks awesome. Have not welded it yet. We're going to be using Barnes spring parts, spring components for the front. Oh, and for springs, we're running the Metal Cloak dual rate springs. I've heard great stuff on those, and I hope to have zero problems with them. As you can tell, we have no shocks yet, so I got to order shocks once I finish the front. I don't know what avenue I'm going to go for shocks. Haven't really decided. It's either going to be ADS, King, or Radflow. They all sound great. I just don't know what is going to suit me best. But yeah, so that's the front. More on the front, we have these reed knuckles. And on top of these reed knuckles, we have some RuffStuff high steer arms. These things are huge. The camera really can't do it justice how big these things are. And I am not worried about those one bit. And on top, we have 7/8 Heim steering. Thanks again to RuffStuff. The kit comes with 2 pieces of DOM, bungs, and then your 4 Heims for your drag link and then your tie rod. So we're going to be doing a video on those as well, how to set those up correctly. And that's kind of it for axle stuff. There's my Mosier 35 spline axles. These things are huge. I'm glad to get a set of these. There's the disc brake kit just laying on the floor all nicely. Coming to the tub, coming to the interior, as you can see, we have the Poison Spider frame still on it. Have not pulled that off. Come to find out, we cannot be using this. These tubes are not the correct size for our weight. We're going to be over 4,400 pounds for sure, so we're going to have to go to 2-inch DOM. This is 1 3/4. And also, we're going to have to be adding some frame support at each pillar. We're going to have to go underneath and make a piece. Okay, technical malfunction. We ran out. Oh, low battery, bruh. Come on. God damn it. Okay, technical malfunction again. We ran out of storage on the other phone, so we had to grab this brand new phone specifically for this video we bought. So, anyways, what was I saying? Oh, the frame tie-ins. Yes, for the cage. Each pillar, so there's gonna be 6 points of contact to the frame. We're just gonna do a plate, and then we're gonna do a piece of DOM coming out up through the tub, and then we're gonna do a sandwich plate. That's a good glove. Similar to this on the bottom side, and then yeah, with the proper bolting and stuff. So we're gonna have 6 of those, so that'll be a good video. I forgot one thing about the steering. Since it is 7/8 steering, these bolts are huge. They're bigger than my thumb, or about as big. But my pitman arm is not so big. There's not really a whole lot of upgrade options for the pitman arm for this steering box, unless you go to the Genrite one, which is like $700, and I think that's kind of crazy, at least for me right now. So I already have it reamed out to a 9/16 hole, which is what I had the old steering at. So to remedy that, I bought these misalignment spacers for a 7/8 Heim, but it narrows it down to a 9/16 hole, so that'll solve my problem. So one of the Heims are going to be smaller than the other ones, but that's fine because I don't have to spend $700. So yeah, right now we're going to be doing a quick little video, I guess, on locating where this is going to go and then welding it up. A little story on this. As you can tell, this doesn't look like the rest of the joints. This link just has a Y coming off of it. The rest of them are like that. They have joints, and they're threaded for a joint. Rock crawler. This is obviously a bolt-on kit for a stock TJ. So they reuse this bung, not bung. They reuse this. That is a cast part of the housing. You knock out this bushing. Looks like this. Knock out this can, and then you build your own little ball joint from them inside there. But obviously I don't have this on a Ford high pinion axle, so I bought this from Barnes, thinking it was gonna work. Well, this ends up being ridiculously small. This is nowhere near an upgrade. It's quite the downgrade, actually. This bushing is completely the wrong size. This is not anywhere close to the stock size joint. So after spending hours on the internet trying to find a fix for it, I found this kit from Rusty's Off-Road.
It's a pretty simple kit. I mean, simple piece. It's just a piece of 1-inch steel with a DOM bung looking thing. So I have that all welded up, but obviously I have to locate it on the axle. Yeah, that's what I've been dealing with just with this. I mean, this kit is awesome quality, the rock crawler kit, but I should have just went a different route with building it, but it's gonna work. We'll make it work. So right now we're just kind of locating the correct caster. What does that say? 8 degrees. We're kind of shooting for somewhere between 4 degrees and 10. Whatever's the most that I can go before I ruin my pinion angle. The pinion angle is gonna be awesome regardless because it's a high pinion. And right there, it's kind of like where this is sitting at ride height, so we've measured the pinion and it matches what I want it to be. So I might settle with 8. I might even go a little less. You want proper caster. Caster's important for steering purposes. It's not going to wander as much the more caster you have. As you can see, the bottom ball joint is leading the top ball joint, so it'll track better on the road. You can't have too much. You can have too much though, where it will wander and it will cause death wobble. But between 4 and 10 degrees is what I was reading is proper for this axle. Every axle is different, but they all seem around that. Some have tighter tolerances than others, but yeah, just do your own research. So we're going to get to welding on this and figuring out where I should put it. All right, so before I get too far ahead of myself on welding that top mount, I'm going to need to obviously put the truss on the axle. But before I do that, it looks like I have to shave some of that ear off to make it sit down more on the axle flush. So I guess I'll get a clip of me doing that real quick. See if that was enough. Kind of a pain in the butt to put back on there. We're getting better. Might just do a little bit more here. I'll show you. Close-up view. Let me unplug. Definitely a lot closer. I'd say we're maybe just a little bit over 1/8 of an inch off of the axle housing. I'm gonna go a little bit tighter and then I will I'll start welding. But this is kind of how the truss is set up. It's kind of 4 or 5 pieces. You got the center supports, which are also going to need to be grinded because they're matching the housing, the tube. And you got the two gates, and then the top part of the truss is the main structural part of the whole thing. So yeah, let me grind the rest of them. So I just found out that when you grind stuff, the stuff that you're grinding, especially if it's metal, gets pretty hot. So I gave myself a skin graft today in the shop. So don't do that. Don't make sure you remember that the stuff gets hot, or just don't be an idiot. All right, so let's get this truss back on there. Not really good. This is where, I mean, it's going to go where it's going to go. There's not really a lot you can do to it. You do want to make sure, I'm trying to avoid welding on any of the cast of the pumpkin, mostly because I don't need to. It's going to be plenty strong enough without welding onto the cast iron. So yeah, there's the main part. There's little keyholes on the top. That's how you kind of center everything up. Okay. It's not wanting to settle down. Let me get to the bottom of that. Oh, I see. Okay. It's no biggie. Seems to be that I just lowered while I beveled out these. I actually lowered the support, so now it's not lining up correctly, but that's no big deal. I can just adjust the other part of it. I'll be right back. All right, so now we got the truss lowered. It's making contact all around, so we're gonna tack it up and then set the caster angle. All right, so now we have the truss in place and welded. Now I'm gonna worry about the top link bracket. We located it where we think it's gonna work. Then we're going to tack it into place, and then we're going to cycle the front end and see if it's obstructing anything, or is it making contact with the oil pan or the frame or exhaust. So let me tack it up real quick. So now I'm working on springs. These are the spring mounts for the axle, the perches. It's from Barnes. I already started on this one. You're supposed to push that tab down and then weld it in place for it to be reseated. Not the greatest of welds, but you're not going to see them, so those are the best kind of welds. So I already started with this one. Here's the other pieces. You kind of just put this locator ring there, and then this part just sits on top of right there. They give you a hole if you're going to do the bump stop there. I probably will not end up using this, but it's good for future. I can weld the nut on top of that if I ever need it. I already finished this side. It's all welded up. Again, not the greatest of welds, but it's going to look really good when I paint it, because you're not going to see my fantastic welds. So I'm going to get a time lapse of me doing this one real quick. All right, so we just cycled it, and nothing's hitting, so that's awesome. It exceeds all of my limitations with fenders, so I'm gonna have no worries that this is gonna work properly. So I guess in the next video, we're gonna be setting up steering, setting the spring pads, and making, I guess, showing how I did the rear kinda. There's not really a technique in setting up springs. You just don't really want them to bow out. You kind of want them to just stay perpendicular throughout the suspension travel. Yeah, looks awesome. I'm really excited, and I can't wait to be finished with this. I think that kind of wraps up this video for updates and stuff. So we'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos and comments. I mean, leave a comment and then like the other videos.